and welcome to Confessions. I'm your hostess of light, Jennifer Watson. I'm an empowerment coach, new moon astrologer, past life reader, and author. My mission is to create a safe space for you to step into your darkness so you can shine your brightest of lights. And that's what this show is all about. Tonight, we will be talking about lifting the veil, uncovering the connection between the spiritual and physical realm. Perfect for Halloween, no? So, many of us do not doubt the existence of a higher power, though we may call it very different things and have very different beliefs about what that is. So what is out there, and can we be open to new perspectives and experiences? Joining me tonight is an amazing panel of guests. I'm so excited about the light that is being shown in this room right now. Well, different rooms, but all good. So first, Dr. Matt. He is a spiritual healer, medium, and guide. We have Francine Oprescu, who is an esoteric trance healer. And we also have Kathrine Mitchell, who is an intuitive healer and psychic medium. So welcome to Confessions, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
That's it.
Hi.
Guys, all good? You ready to bare your soul?
Oh my
Yes.
God, let's do it.
Always.
All right. So not only are we bearing our souls, we are bearing our connections between everything. We're all one tonight, right, all?
Absolutely.
Right.
So let's get into, like, the reason I started the show to begin with was about upcoming Halloween and the pagan Holland Samhain and, you know, the whole mystery of the lifting of the veil. So who would like to dive right in and tell us a little bit about what that is and what happens on this night?
I can.
Go for it, Matt.
Yeah, so, you know, like lifting the veil, it's actually something that a lot of people don't realize happens every day, that, you know, as the Earth gets closer to the astral plane. And it kind of just happens in our rotation. But the significance of kind of Halloween and Samhain, it's really kind of simple. It's not nearly as mystical as we think it is. And, you know, it's really just about this group consciousness that's associated with, you know, like, okay, on this day, the veil is even thinner. And in my opinion, technically, it's not thinner. It's just that so many people share this common belief that it is. So it actually creates, like, this group consciousness, this group belief, and this group thought that on some levels allows us to be closer. It's not as much that the veil is thinner as much as our connection to what's on the other side is closer, because our belief in it is more open, is more expanded.
In my tradition, Mexico, we have Dia de los Muertos. So we have 9 days prior to the 1st and the 2nd of November, and we start collecting, especially marigold flowers, because that's a representation for the flower of the dead. It's to awaken those ancestors that are in our bones and those who have passed on recently, just to honor them and appreciate them for they're not forgotten in those other realms, and also to create like a safe heaven for them on the other side. So it's super special. So the first day of November, we're honoring all the children, all the innocent, and the second day we're honoring those who have sinned, you know, mostly adults. So it's just a beautiful time, because it's not so much, yes, I agree with you, the veils aren't thinner, but there are more ancestors and more of those who have passed on more present within us. And you can see it around people more than any other time, because they're welcomed. They're being, you know, honored. So they're here, and they're ready to see where you're at and how much you appreciate them, and have some dialogue.
I love that. Kathrine, how about you?
I believe that ultimately it appears like a veil or a space between here and there, but in my work I don't know that I see a here or there, because in something I practice in quantum mechanics, you know, two things can be at one place at one time. So if we're, you know, depending on your religious beliefs or how you believe spiritually, you know, if there's a heaven, you know, when we cross, we go there. And I don't know that we go anywhere. I think we're right here. You know, I write about that a little bit, and I call it here and here. When I do my work, it's, you know, right here. Spirit is right here. Just like everything else we want to manifest or create, it's just something with the mind's eye we can't see. We can feel though, as we know. So that's, my thought. I support what, Francine and Matt are talking about, because I think it's kind of all one thing and one perception, individualized. But I think in my work, what I really feel, and there is no veil. I feel like it's all here.
I have a veil.
I see the veil.
I love the here and here aspect. I think that's really great. Because it's like all we got to, because I believe the way that I always phrase that is that all we got to do is just reach out for it and it's already there.
Right.
Because it is here and here. I love that.
Yeah, there's a scientific movement right now, or I should say science is catching up with spirit, or with the New Agers, or, the believers, whatever we want to call us or them. And there's like basic proof that there's something there that we can't see or understand. It's the energy between us tonight. I mean, literally, it appears that we can't touch because we're all in different parts, in our homes. But that's not true. It's just a perception. It's a perception. Yeah, if we change our perception, things change. But I appreciate your support. Yeah, hey.
I love that. So you guys are all mediums, and the first thing that pops into people's mind traditionally is that, you can help connect me with loved ones. And I'm thinking that's usually how it starts before it develops into something else. So take us back really briefly in how you learned that you had this ability to connect with people who have crossed over or beings that are beyond. Francine, let's start with you.
Beings who have passed on that have lived here in this plane, no, not all the time. I cannot connect with them. And I'm not going by a belief system here. I'm going by my own experiences, and I'm just a seeker of all truth. So my experiences led to, there are different realms in this reality that we step into, but it depends on your physicalness, the matter that we carry in ourselves, how you can relate and how you can communicate with these other outer beings. Sometimes it's very easy because, the darker ones, they're very easy to communicate because we are of dark matter. So that's not a problem. If somebody says, I want to communicate with so-and-so, more likely it's just right there and it's very visible. But those who have lived a life of who was really trying to seek their inner self and inner truth and help others, their type of matter and their type of aura, if you want to say, is a little bit different. And that's where you need to change how you are inside in order to communicate with those type of beings.
How did you start off with these connections? What bridged the gap for you?
It's just that seeker. I don't go by people's words. I'm always constantly seeking the truth, higher knowledge, heart-based information, and I'm always, tuning in with the cosmos and see what they got to say.
Sounds awesome. Kathrine, how about you? How did you connect and realize you had this ability?
I don't know if I knew I was connecting. I was just, feeling some stuff. And what was funny is that I assumed that everyone could do this. Being a child of maybe 7, 8, and I'm like, do you hear that? And hear what? So it was just kind of, like you speak, you breathe, you hear stuff. But I just thinking about when did this really start for me, and I think I opened a book on astrology, a child-friendly book on Virgo. I'm a Virgo. Hey, Virgos out there. And I think it shifted some stuff for me. I asked my mom, can we go to the library? I need to know more about this stuff. I want to know. And it It kind of just unfolded there. And I think I would add the more that I was aware, the more that I explored, I think it strengthened what was already there. And I think that answers the question. I hope that answers the question.
I think it was perfect. No worries. I think it was excellent. Dr. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, you know, for me, like, I don't remember as a child having experiences of communicating with spirits. Like, for me, it wasn't until when I actually started my healing practice and started, like, working with clients and things, and I might be in the middle of a reading or, like, doing some energy work, and, you know, for me, like, I would just basically start receiving things from these spirits in the same way that I do when I channel, regardless of who or what I'm channeling. And I remember when I first started, like, sharing these experiences with people, like, there were some moments when someone would be like, oh my God, like, that's my father you're talking about, or oh my God, that's my brother, or oh my God, that's my friend that passed away. And so, you know, I started paying attention to those moments, like what they were feeling like, how I was receiving it. And the more that I started doing that, the more experiences I started having of these spirits showing up that were attached to these people and, you know, wanting to share and relay messages. And it wasn't until I had one client who one day she asked me if I could channel her sister through, who had passed away. And I'd never, like, actually had a client come to me and, like, want a reading specifically for that. But I know from what I was told in school all the time, the universe never sends us an opportunity we aren't ready for. So I said, sure. And then as soon as I said sure, I was like, shit, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? I've never done this really before. You know, but it's all about channeling. And, you know, and so for me, that's how it started, just this slow, organic thing and just really starting to create a relationship with it. You know, and I loved what Francine said about the spirits not always being contactable. You know, I use the words reachable and unreachable because not every spirit that has crossed over is able to be contacted because sometimes they are off kind of doing their work, reviewing their life, working through their karma. We still get to have the experience of healing and living and being and experiencing when we are on the other side. You know, so I think it is important for people to know and understand that those spirits, those loved ones, aren't always reachable.
Great point, great point. So can you each share, without breaking any confidentiality or anything like that, can you share one of the most interesting experiences you had acting as a medium for someone, where even you were going, oh, wow, I can't believe that just happened? Kathrine, can you think of any?
So an experience that said, you know, like, wow, I can't believe this just happened? Is that what you're...
Yeah, like, as a medium helping to connect somebody to a loved one or messages that came through, is there anything that stands out in your mind that was like, wow, this is really profound?
I was just talking about this, a couple of days ago. I had, this was prior to meeting a client, so I didn't even know who I was connecting to, and I was taking a flight, and I was feeling like I shouldn't fly, and I could hear this man by the name of William or Bill or Billy. He's like, no, we shouldn't fly. It was really odd. I have no fear of flying. That was not an issue. So I finally met, you know, his daughter, and in a session, unfortunately, he was a pilot, and, you know, there was a problem with the plane. The plane went down, and there was this first time feeling of, this isn't me. It was like a very prominent moment to relate to, this is someone else's information. Because I wasn't sure if I should fly or not, because it's like you hear something, you feel something. Does that make sense? So that kind of shifted of, oh, there's communication not only through vision or through feeling, but it almost becomes mine. So that was my young 20s when that had first happened, maybe about 20 or 21. And so it helped me focus and how to learn to separate. Because there's so many. That's just one I was just talking about, though.
No, that's really, really cool. So, Francine, have you experienced anything like that, or what's your own experience with something that was so out of the box for you?
With mediumship, that's not something that I give of service to people. It's more of a trance channel or the healer aspect of me. But when I do that, it's just fascinating because, like I said a little bit earlier, when somebody wants to have a conversation with a loved one, something or someone else steps in sometimes. It's actually the majority of the time. And what I mean by something is it can be all kinds of different beings from all different realities. Yeah. So that's the amazing part, is like they step in and then they talk about why that individual cannot come through.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Matt, how about for you?
Yeah, you know, like I feel like every experience I have of bringing through someone's loved one is always like one of those kind of mind-blowing moments, because it's so beautiful, like the experience and the healing that person gets to have, and seeing that moment on their face that like they're getting exactly what they've been searching for is really special. But I feel like the thing that probably stands out the most for me, and this doesn't necessarily happen with every single person, but it happens pretty frequently, is when maybe if there was something physical, whether it's a disease or an injury that someone had when they died, a lot of times, like as soon as I feel their energy, before they let me know anything else about them, they'll usually like, sometimes I'll actually feel it physically in my body, or sometimes they'll just kind of bring my awareness and my focus there. I mean, like they're actually kind of recently, I won't like give any more details, but recently I was working with someone and it was just channeling through one of her loved ones, and immediately like I started like grabbing my neck like this, and I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I can't breathe. I was like, something happened with the neck. It almost like feels like that it's not there anymore. Well, I guess like there was some kind of really intense like machine accident with one of her loved ones, and like there was an injury with like the neck, and like I'm not going to give all the details.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it was really wild, you know, like just the way that happens. I mean, in all different parts of my body. And so for me, I feel like that's really the thing that really stands out the most, because it really gets my attention. You know, like just being able to actually feel those sensations. You know, and I feel like that I'm not necessarily actually feeling it all the way in. It's almost like the spirit is just allowing me to feel it on a more energetic level.
Wow, that's a little creepy. I mean, it's wonderful, but I'm like,
welcome to my life.
As somebody who's so squeamish, I'm like, oh God, if I had to feel them, because I'm so hypersensitive, so.
And see, I'm not squeamish at all. Like,
yeah,
so
no,
opposite.
good. So I'm gonna not tap into that part, okay?
Maybe that's why a spirit lets me feel it that way, because I don't really get affected by that kind of stuff.
I want to make a comment about this, because there's no veil we were talking about earlier. And sometimes I wonder, is the person that is feeling some pain or emotional discomfort or confusion, is it really theirs? Like, because what Matt just said, he's feeling this in his neck, and because I'm speaking for myself, but the sensitivity of that experience, I mean, it's so real. Like, you know, I've felt a heart attack, but I've never had a heart attack. Or like when my grandmother was crossing, as she was crossing, I was crossing too. And in the moment of her crossing, it was completely released. It's not fun, but it's crazy and interesting. But I wonder about, you know, if I'm thinking about impression. I want to talk about that a little bit, but maybe a little later. I mean, how
go for it.
Okay. Well, we have, you know, because there's a separation between what is a energy and a force of connection to you and I, to everyone, and then there's something called an impression, or as others would call a ghost. And a ghost, it's real, but it's not real. And I'm thinking about the times I've experienced that. Of course, I shut it down because I don't want to make contact with a ghost. A ghost will show me something like redundant. It will show me, you know, the baby bottle and how they put the baby bottle, or, you know, they'll show me the wedding ring over and over. And that's not communication with the spirit, and that's something I'm working on now. I have a course that I've created, and I want people to really understand the value of intuition and that connection psychically, and the use of mediumship and channeling. I mean, it's not to be, you know, I don't know. it's not to be made light of. It's intense stuff because you're connecting to some serious energy. I mean, there's a multi-dimensional force of energy that surrounds us, our universe. And our universe is big enough already. Can you imagine what's surrounding our universe? So that's something I wanted to talk about, like the impression, because I also feel people, they just, I want to get a reading. I want to go see a medium. I always recommend referral. Please recommend, we go through, I sat with that person, that was a good experience. And it's not that the other person may not be good. It's just maybe they don't know how to protect the space, or they're not sure how they're connecting. Maybe they're connecting to someone that is an impression, not the authentic energy of spirit. This has been a very powerful part of my work. I just wanted to kind of share that. We went off the topic a little bit of, feeling and which is which, but that was something I wanted to share. Thank you for letting me share that.
No, I think that's great, Kathrine, because that's something I teach very selective people, and I only give readings to very selective few as well. And the reason being is because these veils, these realms, are not to be messed with and be taken very lightly.
Right.
There are unseen forces that actually have more force than what we have within, or that we even channel or are capable of. So having that understanding and that respect for the true spirit is very important. So one area of where I would say is one of my strong suits is the discernment, and working with those spirits and discerning, is that good, that bad, that in between. So in my work, I do a lot of the ancestral healing, the person healing from their ancestrals, their bloodline, their DNA. Having the truth, concrete understanding of that, and how do you communicate with these spirits, and how they represent with themselves. Many sigils, symbols, just different ways of communication, because there's just so many. It's a multitude of them, and I help people have that concrete understanding of, that there is angel forces that can help us, yes, but there's also those darker forces that are there to prevent you from achieving what you want to achieve, and that is very real. So people who start practicing different forms of spirituality, it's very important to have a concrete foundation in what you're going to get yourself into, and start healing yourself internally, mentally. Really seek psychological help to help our mental state, because many spiritualists at this time are not mentally there. They're just seeking so much wisdom, but they haven't really healed themselves, and they're giving all this advice to many individuals who is very it's very sad. It's very sad on many levels, but yeah, so just the advice for people, I would just say have a concrete foundation, referrals, yes, and really heal yourself by starting with the mental state, and then move on.
Great, it was a great conversation. I kind of want to bring it back to what Francine and Kathrine briefly touched on about other beings and other things coming into your space. So, we typically think of just loved ones and people crossing over. So does anybody want to share their experience with perhaps, other dimensions or other kinds of spirits? Let's open up this conversation, because I know it's something that people are too freaked out to talk about and hear and even bring into their space. And, I think it's a conversation to have, because we have to increase awareness that we can't realistically think that we are the only living things in this entire universe.
Yeah. Are you sure? Okay. So, for me, I mean, we've kind of talked a lot about spirits and things like that, and I know we'll continue to talk more about it. So I'm going to talk more about cosmic energy for a second, and, aliens, as people like to call them, other light beings, life forms, whatever the word is that we want to use, it doesn't matter. It's more about recognizing that, here we are as humans on this planet, right? We have a soul, and there's a specific form that we take. And when we start looking in other dimensions, other universes, other planets, it's essentially the same thing, all right? There's still some version of a soul and some version of a form that I guess encapsulates that soul, however, you know, we want to talk about it. And that it's really important for us to open ourselves up to the possibilities. There's so much more to life and existence and in the universes than what we know. And that at the end of the day, it's not about that we need to have all the answers and that we need to know everything, because there's an infinite amount of wisdom out there, and we're always going to be learning something new every single day. If, especially like Francine was talking about, you know, if we're really working on our own path of healing. I mean, that is so important. You know, and so I feel like that it's just about staying open to the possibilities that there might be something more than what we're aware of or than what we've experienced, because I have had moments of working with clients, and when I've been channeling for them, like, spirit just starts bringing through, like, basically that they're not from Earth. You know, like, and so what I've been learning and over the years working with these clients, and this is not something that I learned from reading a book or anyone else, it's just what I've learned from experience of working with people, is that sometimes people from other planets, dimensions, you know, galaxies, whatever we want to label it as, sometimes, you know, they might have their place that they incarnate to most often or more regularly, but sometimes there's an experience that can be offered somewhere else, and so our soul might choose to incarnate where that's somewhere else, for instance, Earth, to learn whatever it is that Earth can teach. Earth has one of the densest energies of any other planet in a lot of the other galaxies. I wouldn't say the #1 densest, because I don't know that. But it definitely, you know, has one of the densest, and so there's a lot that we can learn here on Earth, because time moves a lot slower than it does in a lot of other places. It can teach us about, you know, our thoughts, our emotions, allowing us to get accountable for who we are and the life that we're creating.
Nicely done.
So much more that I could say, but I'm going to leave it at that.
That's awesome. Francine, how about you? What do you have to add to that?
I mean, there's a lot there. I agree with you. It's just an unlimited, you know, amount of information, unlimited amount of spirit. We are in one of the densest planets. We have so much. What I spoke about earlier is matter, and having that concrete understanding of what matter is really important as a spiritual being, because, you know, you look at the atom, you look at the nucleus, you look at the photons and electrons, all of that plays a key role on the communication with the other spirits and the other realms and all these other planets. And because they all carry something different. So when you talk about spirits, one thing in my healing practice is the removal of such dark forces, what you would call as a demon. That's one thing that a lot of people call me for. Other spiritual workers call me and say, hey, I need some help. This is going on with this client. Nothing seems to be working for them. And so digging down and trying to find out exactly why this entity is there and removing it. But it's having that concrete understanding of what matter is to be able to pull something out like that, because you have to transform your inner abilities inside in order for something like that to kind of like understand you in order to pull it out. Otherwise, it just won't respect you and it won't listen to you. So that's why I said, like earlier, it's extremely important to work on the mental process first and then move on to the other things.
Very interesting. Kathrine, what's your take?
A very powerful statement from that, Francine. Definitely very insightful, and you know, we're using very similar thoughts and theories with different words, and I think that's awesome. It's basically, you know, one thing. My discovery is for myself of my own healing, and then to bring that forth in the aligning program, which we've talked about a little bit, is that there is an infinite choice, and that infinite choice is basically one choice. We, as this dense matter, we live in conflict and a duality, as the Tao speaks of. And that duality creates a confused state, and sometimes confused means anxiety. And that anxiety brings down our energy. It brings down our energy on the earthbound plane. And if we don't immediately rectify, find the grounding in that lesson, or to understand why we felt the anxiety or why we felt confused, we weaken. We weaken our, you want to call them our shields of power or protection, or our connection to the source, or our chakra system gets unbalanced. It doesn't, all these words mean something, but they all mean one thing. And the reason that I called the aligning program the aligning is because we want to align with the higher self and the source. And that can only happen, as Francine said, to have a good foundation, concrete. But you can't have that if you think you are earthbound, meaning that you are born and then you die. You also can't think that if you have the multi-task, multi-dimensional demons, fairies, angels, trolls, past lives, all this, and again, it's all the same thing. But if you're not grounded in that connection to the source, meaning you're solid, you're strong, if you're distracted, you're going to be searching. And you can't search for what you already are. I don't know, I've been talking about how to create that connection to the cosmos or the multi-dimensional realms. And this is a very nice flow. I really like what we did here. I think it supports what people need. So, it's just, I think it's sad sometimes when I see, a client and they're, it's so simple. All you have to do is breathe. Just breathe and trust and know you're safe. But that is a mental thing, as Francine said. Matt said something about being connected to the cosmos. It's one thing. There's no separation, But, yeah, it's too much out there in the world. It's really, it's too much going on. I mean, we need to come back to making it simple, connecting to that source, breathing, simple stuff,
Excellent points that you bring up, and it brings me to my last question, which let's go through quickly because it's just about confession time. That's something that Dr. Madha and I had talked about offline a little bit about. People use the expression, we only live once, and we live with this timeline, and we've got to get it all done in this life and everything. So real quickly, Matt, why don't you explain your perspective on that?
Yeah, I won't share. It kind of blends a little with my confession, so I'll be general about it.
Not your confession, your perspective.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. This kind of blends a little bit. So I'm going to share part of it.
Then we'll lead right into our confession, as in, what has this connection for you done for you in your life? So, Matt, go!
Okay, so, for me, to answer both of your questions, there was one day I was meditating, and I've always known that, there's no separation and that our lives are continuous and that, we've got all the time that we need. In my thoughts, I've always known that, right? In theory, yeah, makes sense, got it. But I was meditating one day, and then all of a sudden, I literally, it's like Spirit showed me and allowed me to feel. It's almost like I got sucked into this vortex for a moment and really, got pulled into just, the flow, right? I guess we could call it the flow of time, but it's really not even about time. It's more just flow of consciousness. That's what I want to use. It's just literally pulled me into the flow of consciousness and allowed me to, to be in a space where there wasn't any of the separation, right? Where there wasn't any, oh, I lived this life as this person, this life as this person, this life as this person. It was I was looking at my soul and got to see that all the lifetimes I've lived and I'm living and I've yet to live are merely just different expressions. It's basically just like putting on a change of clothes every day, and that's kind of what it's like. And so for me, when I really got that, it literally, it blew my mind, first of all. And and it seems like something so small because I already knew it, but the way I got to experience it was at a whole new level. And since then, I have gotten to move into my life with a greater sense of patience, with a greater sense of grace, with a greater sense of just being light with myself and allowing myself to play. because I get that all the time that I'm going to need for my transformation over my path is going to be there. It doesn't matter if it takes 5 lifetimes, if it takes hundreds, which it does take hundreds, sometimes thousands for most of us. You know, and so knowing that I have all the time that I'm going to need allows me to get out of this like faulty belief system that so many people out here walking around regurgitating, not because they believe it, they're just regurgitating it, that we only live once, or another one is we're living on borrowed time. And I like to always call people bullshit on that one, on either of those, because it's not true, right? And like we have to stop believing it. I think it was maybe Kathrine that was talking about like beliefs a little bit, you know, and it's important for us to stop believing basically these lies, because that's what keeps us separated. Is these false ideas, like these illusions in our mind that tell us like there's not this continuing connection. And so for me, the way that that has gotten to impact my life has given me this greater sense of ease that has actually allowed me to dive deeper into things within my being. You know, like it gives me more courage, it gives me more love, it gives me more grace with myself, so that I'm not always beating myself up and like, oh, I don't have enough time and everything's horrible and the sky is falling. It's like, you know what? Maybe that didn't work out and meet my expectation, because I'd really struggle with expectations. But I know that I still get another chance. Even if I have to take 100 chances on the same frickin' lesson, until I get it, I'm going to have the opportunity to keep getting it. You know, and that just literally did all the things for me. Like, all the things.
Love it. I love it. Francine, how is your connection to the spirits and other worlds and everything? How has that impacted you personally?
That it just changes everything that I do. It impacted me a lot.
Right.
Obviously. I kind of go with the saying, we're on borrowed time. So, because of the fact that it makes me appreciate the person next to me and see them in a different way. So, other than just bypassing that individual, I'm borrowing a little bit of that individual's time just to be in that essence of it, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And just like I have my children, and I'm always like, you know, God only gave you to me, but it's only temporarily. So let me look at you guys very differently, and let me appreciate you for who you are. So I do go by, you know, we're here on borrowed time. And it's also, if I want to come back again, do I really want to come back and relive these lessons that are presenting to me at this moment? And can I deal with it now, or should I deal with it later? I kind of like to deal with the issues at hand.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Like so, now.
So like full throttle, you know, like give it to me now, and then I don't have to do it again. And whatever the consequences is not up to me, you know, it is what it is. It's fate. So, yeah. So working with the other beings that reside within us as well, and just knowing that you're not from here, just have a greater sense of appreciation for this earth, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Awesome, love it. Kathrine, how about for you?
I think when I found something called deep-rooted trust, not only in my ability, but within myself and the universe, the world that I live in, the town, the people that are in my surroundings. I know that I am at all moments infinitely provided for, even when I don't like it. So I think that I think ultimately that this is my choice. I'm a firm believer of the capacity to manifest when living authentically and in integrity. And I think that when you do that, these lessons, they seem to accelerate and dissipate in a tenth of a second. And I've noticed that, I change my breath, and then the environment, the person changes. So I think I'm not even sure that I'm answering the question, but whatever I'm saying feels like me. Thank you. And I think that if I can inspire an individual to live in trust. Not because I want them to trust or trust me, but just, the ground looks shaky, but I'm going to walk anyway because I trust it. Or the ground looks really solid, I'm not going to walk it because I don't trust it. It's just basically living in that integrity. I think that's all I can do because I can't understand my past lives unless I have a really awesome dream or I see a really awesome past life regressionist. I just know that if I'm living in that integrity and that authenticity, it's going to work itself out because I believe that I am provided for. I believe that we all are. Things change when you're in that mode of trust and surrender. Your whole life is altered. Matt and Francine said it. When you know that you are connected to the source, nothing else matters because you give up that control that you think you have. The only thing you have control of is how to be in your integrity and express your authenticity. I mean, I'm saying those words over and over because they're vital. But yeah, and I just gratitude.
Awesome.
So you just took me to church on that one.
Yeah, woohoo! Thank you.
Let's wrap this up. This has been an amazing conversation. So if you could give a message to our viewers in like a sentence, like what's your most profound or most what comes to mind that you want to leave with your viewers on your behalf? Dr. Matt, let's start with you.
I'm going to keep it simple. Just be love in everything that you do and always remember to play.
I love it. Francine?
Yeah.
Is this a hard one,
What do you want people to take away from this?
Do the inner work.
Mm.
Do the inner work.
Perfect. Kathrine?
I tap into that heart center. Learn to trust your intuition, and so you're not in need. Yeah, follow your heart. That's my words.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you, you awesome souls, for being on the show and having this amazing conversation. It was such an honor to have you on tonight.
Yeah.
So if you all want to check these amazing beings out, you can find Dr. Matt at belovehealings.com, Francine at francineoprescu.com, and Kathrine at kathrinemitchell.com. And because these spellings are all different, I'm going to be posting the links in the video below so you can find them really easy. Please, I can vouch for each one of these people. They're amazing, so check them out in more detail. I'm Jennifer Watson. If you are interested in getting private coaching with me or an astrologic reading or past life reading, you can contact me at www.jennifer-watson.me. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. Tune in next week as I interview the beautiful Oracle Rose. She is such an amazing spirit who believes in our true essence is love, and it's a really amazing interview coming up. So check that out next week. Thanks for joining tonight. Namaste, happy Halloween, and embrace your power.
Thank you.